Okay, so in this video, we will solve question 3 from chapter 9, hard questions. So suppose supply and demand are given by P equals 90 minus 2Q and P equals 10 plus 3Q, where price is in dollars and quantity is in thousands of units. So question 3 says, suppose the economy is open for trade and the world price is $70. What is the change of consumer surplus from a closed economy to an open economy? Okay. Okay, so we're tasked with figuring out the difference between the consumer surplus when the economy is closed for trade and when the economy is versus when the economy is open for trade. And so when the world price becomes the prevailing price. So as always, when it comes to these equation problems, we want to draw a picture. So let's do that. For reference, let's get the equations up there. So we had 2Q. So this is the demand equation. Notice that it's negatively sloped. And of course, we have the supply equation. Okay, so, and we know that the world price is 70. Okay, so world price is $70. So we know how to calculate consumer surplus in a closed economy, of course. So here we'll need two additional pieces of information, right? So we know the y-intercept of the demand equation is 90. Right, we got that from the equation. So all we need to figure out is the equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity. And that, of course, is found at the intersection of supply and demand. Simple enough. So we'll set the equations equal to each other, find the intersection point. So just some simple algebra. So we find that the equilibrium quantity is 16. And then the equilibrium price, plug 16 to either equation. And so we could plug it into supply, and that would be, so 3 times 16 is 48 plus 10 is 58. Okay. So we can plug those numbers in. And so we know that the consumer surplus when the economy is closed for trade is just the area of this triangle. All right, so we'll go ahead and write that down. So consumer surplus for trade, or in a closed economy, is going to be equal to 90, 58 times 16 times 1/2. Right, so again, just algebra. All right, so we'll have 32. You can go ahead and, so well, I'll take 32, 1/2, equal to 16 times 16, which equals 256. Cool. Okay, so that gives us the consumer surplus before trade. Now we see that the world price is $70. So that puts the world price above the equilibrium price. So this will be this up. World price. Okay. World price is $70. So now this is when the economy opens for trade, the world price becomes a prevailing price, right? Because we assume the small country assumption for all countries, so the world price becomes a prevailing price, right? And so same concept, right? It's consumer surplus is above the price line, but below the demand curve. And so the consumer surplus after we open for trade will be here. So to get this, we need one additional piece of information, right? And that is the quantity demanded at the world price. Well, how do we find that? Well, we have the world price and we have the demand curve. So if we plug the world price into the demand curve, we'll find what the quantity demanded is at the world price. Okay, so we have our world price of 70, and we'll set that equal to 90 minus 2Q. And we know that this Q is for demand, right? And then we just solve. So that gives us minus 20 equal to minus 2E. And so quantity demanded at the world price is going to be equal to 10. So plug that in there. Well, now we have all our pieces. So now we can calculate consumer surplus after trade, or in an open economy. And so now it's 90 minus 70 times 10, divided by 2. And then we'll have 20 times 10, 2. This will equal 10 times 10, which equals 100. So in the end, the question wanted to ask, essentially, what is the difference between these two quantities? And now we have the two quantities. So what it was asking is consumer surplus before trade, or in an open or a closed economy, versus consumer surplus after trade or in an open economy. And we see that this is 256 minus 100. That is equal to 56. And it's in thousands of units, so it's 156,000. And so the answer here is C, 156,000.